This is the wizard that allows the user to model the core CRUD functionality, that is a plain RESTful web service without any additional functionality layer like authentication, searching, and interoperation with third-party services. I am going to mark on this user interface the parts that correspond to the 5 basic concepts I have talked earlier in the first part of this webinar. The 5 core concepts of REST. That is, at the upper left of this wizard, you can see a list that lists the resources, that is the building blocks of the service you are going to build. In this case, for example, are the bookmark, account, bookmark share, tag, and tag search. Here in this orange circle, you can see the actual API of each of the selected resource, that is the create, update, or delete possible actions that the bookmark resource has. At the right upper corner, you can choose the input and output representation, such as JSON or XML, for each of the selected resources. And in the middle part, you can find the actual data of your service, and you can see the properties of the selected bookmark resource. Here you can see their names, and you can use these buttons to create or delete some of them. At the right part, you can select the type of the selected property, as well as provide information regarding its multiplicity and whether it's going to be a naming property or not. In the case of the multiplicity, once you click this button, once this checkbox button is checked, that means that the selected property, in this case the scope property, is going to be a single value property. Otherwise, it's going to be an array with multiple values. In the same way, if the naming property checkbox is clicked, that means that the selected properties value is going to be used in the hypermedia links, as we have already discussed. Finally, at the lower right corner of this wizard, you can see the list of the related resources to the selected resource, in this case the bookmark resource. And in this case, the bookmark resource has related resource the tag resource. This means that whenever you interact with a bookmark resource, you are going to get some hypermedia links towards some related tag resources of it, and the other way around, or in other words, when you're interacting with a tag resource, through its interface you are going to get hypermedia links to the related bookmarks. So now let's set up a basic web service scenario, that is the scenario of the RESTmax application, and let's start exploring the MDE engine's capabilities through the series of 4 demos. So for these demos, we're going to use this RESTmax application, of the requirements of which are listed here. So the system should be able to create, update, and delete an account. This RESTmax application actually stores bookmarks of some user that has an account, and other users should be able to search these bookmarks, or be able to share their bookmarks, let's say to Facebook, provided the user's ID. And there is also this non-functional requirement where that states that the system should also support basic authentication. So for this first demo, the first of the four that this webinar comprises, we are going to explore the basic crude functionality, that is the first three requirements. The goal of the first demo is to create a web service that allows its users to manage their accounts, to add to them some bookmarks and manage them, and these bookmarks should have a URL property, and finally link some tags to these bookmarks which have a description property so as to be able to search. But the search functionality, the share functionality, and the basic authentication functionality are not going to be automated in this first demo. So I have already an instance of Eclipse running. Usually the SKS developer would have to go through this basic SKS dashboard and would have, as you remember, to interact with this intelligent being and provide any textual requirements, storyboards, external services composition, etc. And then it would he would go on with the model-driven engineering engine. However, since this webinar is actually about the model-driven engineering engine and only that, I'm going to take a shortcut and directly explore its functionality. Here you can see its user interface with some basic input that this intelligent robot would have to fill in, alongside with some configuration. And in your case, should you want to change that, you will have to go through the Eclipse preferences, and under the SKS option and the code generation, as you can see, you can provide the name of the service you want to build. You can select the output of your service, and you can provide also some basic database communication information, such as where should the database server of the service that you will create lie, some credentials, and of course here are the additional functionality layers that you can use. But in this case, since we said that we're going to use just a crude, the plain, simple case of this model-driven engineering engine, we're going to uncheck all of them. In the next demos, as we're going to show, you simply have to check the additional layers of functionality that you wish to automate. I will go on with the first demo about REST max. I will hit the generate button, and as you can see, the core REST wizard pops up. And it has all these sections we have already discussed. The first thing I would like to talk about here is that, of course, in the non-ideal case, that you will get this input semi-automatically using the uppercase of this case, this input will be incomplete or contain some errors. In that case, you will see that, for example, if I uncheck this, you will see this at this upper part of the wizard some sort of error notification that says you that the input that this sim wizard has actually is not valid, and it provides you with some hints on how to make it valid. For example, here it states that every resource should have at least one CRUD activity as interface, otherwise it's not going to be reachable and it's not going to be a resource at all, and that's not RESTful. So here I'm going to pick the read CRUD activity, and actually this is going to happen with any sort of invalid input there may be. For example, if I uncheck this, the naming property of the account resource, it will state that every resource should have some sort of naming property, so that it will help its clients to pick up which resource instance to interact with. So in this basic scenario, that I have a valid input, I'm going to just click finish, and I am going then to explore the output of this resource of this service. As you can see, it actually comprises of five resources: the account, the bookmark, and the tag for the three CRUD resources, the requirements of this application require, and two non-CRUD resources, the tags and the bookmarks. They are ones that are actually going to embed the more complex functionality that cannot be modeled with a create, read, update, and delete primitive actions. So I'll go on and press the finish button, and now actually the model-driven engineering engine produces the output of this code. So now I can go on and check at the output folder I have already selected in my model-driven engineering engine's configuration options, and actually see what it has produced as an output. And I will mostly explore this folder, which actually has the produce source code. As you can see, there is a folder with the name of the RESTful service it has created. In this case, it is RESTmarks. As you can remember, I have selected it to be RESTmarks. Then you can see that inside it lies a Maven POM XML file that allows you to compile the whole produced service, and then there is a structure of a source folder and files that actually leads you to the actual source code of this service. In this case, as you can see, there is a core utilities folder that contains functionality that is used by all of the REST web service, and it also contains one folder per resource. Should you remember, there were five resources in this case: the account, the bookmark, the tag search, and the bookmark share one. In the case of the CRUD resources, there should be no developer intervention, or in other words, all these files that actually I could open up one and show you actually contain full code, cableless code that is compilable and executable. For example, as you can see, it has some header comments, the import, the actual Java file with Java class with several annotations, other frameworks that are used, and the actual code for this, for some part of the functionality of this resource. However, although as an escape developer I will not have to add any code to the CRUD resources, I absolutely have to add my code to the non-CRUD resources that cannot be automated by this model-driven engineering engine. Of course, in general, you will be able to automate to embed automatically database keyword searching. But in this scenario, the very first setup, I have just used only the CRUD capabilities of my engine. So in this case, as you can see, if I open up this controller Java file, I will find some to do comments that prompt me to add my code in this file or any other files that I have to write down, so my service will be complete regarding its desired functionality. I can compile, for example, this generated service. As you can see, I'm in the same folder structure. I will get into the RESTmarks folder, and then with a simple Maven command, I will get the actual compiled and runnable uh, RESTful service. As you see, it has been successful, and once you compile with Maven the service, you see that a new target folder is created, and that contains this restmas.war file, which actually is the executable that you can write straight away, drag and drop in a Jet or Tomcat environment, have your service running. In this case, all these CRUD resources will be fully functional, whereas the other non-CRUD, non-implemented resources will be just empty REST wrappers that you will have to fill in some code in order to make them fully functional as well. So let's go on with the next example. Then we will go, for that one, we will go through the basic authentication capabilities. As you can see here, I have marked some of the basic vocabulary, the basic concept that the authentication metamodel of this model-driven engineering engine comprises, that are grouped into two parts. The first one has you to pick one of your CRUD resources to be your authentication model for your service. That is, it means that two properties of that resource are going to be used as authentication tokens, that is, as a username or as a password. And once you choose through the wizard your authentication model and authentication tokens, then you will have to choose for every CRUD activity that your web service exposes an authentication mode, being either let's say a guest mode where everyone is able to access the functionality behind a resource, or for example a scenario where everybody has to be authenticated in order to access the functionality. Again, here are some screens of this wizard. At the left part you can see the user interface that lets you pick the authentication model, the authentication token, and at the right part you can set up the authentication mode and access mode or for every CRUD activity of all your resources. So in this second demo, apart from the first two CRUD requirements, we are going to be able to also satisfy this non-functional requirement that actually says that the systems must be able to support basic authentication. And for this to happen, I will have to check this basic authentication checkbox, and that will actually tell the model-driven engineering engine of this case to pop up also the basic authentication wizards, so that it will allow me as an S-case developer to provide any input needed regarding the authentication part. Of course, in the base case scenario of this case, I would have made that option from here. I would have to click this option or any other option as we have already said. So now that my configuration is set up, I will proceed. Again, it's the same service. In this perfect scenario, everything is correct. So I'll go on and straight away push the finish button. And now, as you can see, the authentication wizard pop-ups. In the upper part, it allows me to pick one of the CRUD resources of my web service, and as an authentication model. And in this case, of course, I'm gonna pick the account resource, which I have actually created for that purpose. And I'm going to select the username property of the account, a resource as an authentication token, and the password property as a password authentication token. These could have actually any name, that could be user, nickname, pass, anything really. And you can see that once I have provided all the input to this wizard page, now this next button is activated, and it allows me to go on with the rest of the authentication setup, which in this case is, as we have already said, the setup of the authentication and access mode of every activity that this service exposes. That is, you can see I can go per a resource and per CRUD activity and select the authentication mode, or I can take, let's say, a shortcut and apply to all of them some type of authentication, and then go and fine-tune some parts of it. And once I click the finish button, the MDE engine again produces the code of the model-driven engineering engine. As you can see, it's updated, and in this case, let's say if I open up some files of it, I'm going to actually see that it has set up also some header parameters and some other parameters that actually have to do with the authentication part of this application. And that's all about the authentication demo. Let's go on with the database keyword searching scenario. In this case, there are only three basic concepts that you have to remember. The one is that there is a concept such as the search resource, which actually is a resource that is intended to be able to receive client requests and perform on behalf of them some queries in the service's local database, which is actually created by the core REST part of this model-driven engineering engine. That is, every CRUD resource of your service actually will have a relational table in this service's database. So this search resource will be able to perform search queries to the service database, and it will be able to search some searchable resources, as they are called in this vocabulary of the model-driven engineering engine, which actually have some searchable properties. And actually these concepts allow the engine to index these properties and resources so as to be searchable. And as you can see, the very same concepts appear also in this user interface of the search wizard. And I'll go straight ahead with the next demo. In this case, I will want to also include searching. So in this case, I will be able to also satisfy the requirement 4, which says that the system must be able to search bookmarks by the tag description. So I will check this database searching checkbox, and that actually signals to my MDE engine to pop up also the database searching wizard. So I'll go straight ahead and quickly through the other screens as well. Let's say for that is enough. And now the search wizard pops up. At this upper left part, you can see that all the non-CRUD resources appear as available options to be search resources. For this case, for this example, I'm going to use the tag search resource, as this is the purpose I have created it. And I will click on the add button to add it to the search resources of this service. And then I will actually make a combination of properties that I want them to be searchable, and I will add them to the selected searchable properties. I could actually create any combination of let's say of properties that will be searchable of this tag resource, or I could actually add more search resources and make them search different parts of my service, etc. As you can see, I can have any combination, but for this case we will stick to the basic scenario, which says that we will have a tag search resource which will only search the description of tags. And I will again go on and click finish. And once again the MDE engine will go on and produce the services code, as I can see here. In this case, it has also automated fully this resource, the tag search resource. So if I go on again and open the controller Java, there will be no to do comment here, and it actually has also added one more Java file which actually handles and performs all the search requests. So in this case, as you can see, my service also has two non-CRUD resources, but this time one of them is fully automated, whilst the other still needs some manual code in order to be functional. But we're going to automate the last one as well. The last one has to do, as we have already said in the first part, with interoperation with existing third-party services. In this case, I'm going to talk about the concepts directly on the user interface. As you can see, for any resource that I'm going actually to say that it is going to be a REST client in this case, since this is going to be a client that interacts with external servers. So in the red area you can see there is a part to enter the URL of that external server that my resource interacts with. I will have to pick up one CRUD verb that it will have to interact with the service. I can add several query parameters, and then at the blue and the green area I can fill in any information about the input and output model of that target REST service. And I will get in more details with the actual example. In this case, I will skip the database searching and basic authentication. So after the basic crude stuff, I will be presented with the external service composition wizard of the MDE engine. In this case, I'm going to pick this bookmark share non-crude resource as a REST client. And as you can see, at this upper left corner, I'm provided with all the non-crude resources that actually could become a REST client. And I will click on the add button. And as you can see, the bookmark share resource is now marked as a REST client resource. And since my current input is invalid, as you can see again here at the upper part, I'm prompted with some error message to fix any inconsistencies so that I will be able to proceed. And as you can see right now, this finish button is disabled and it will remain so until I have fixed any mistake. So let's say that the URL to actually share a bookmark to Facebook is this. Let's see, sharing, and that you have to use the create or a post verb, and that there is a query parameter named user ID, and that the input to that service is simply a URL. And as you can see here, apart from the media format used to interact with the server as an input model, I can also fine-tune the properties that are going to be included in this JSON or XML. For example, I'm going to use this input property and I'm going to mark it as a single value property and of type string. Of course, I can also use these buttons to create more properties, delete some of them, or rename them. And let's say finally that let's say that the resource that we're going, the external service that we're going to interact with is actually going to send us back some data that is going to be the expected output data model. And I will have also for that to pick an output representation media file that is actually also going to be either JSON or XML. And I will have to add some properties. Let's say it is whatever, an output property that may have some type and some multiplicity. And then there is this lower part of this wizard which actually allows me, once I click to this checkbox, persist output local database, to actually select the received output to the local services database for future use. And as you can see, I have actually two options. Actually, I should rather say that if I have this button, if I have this checkbox unchecked, actually the REST client resource bookmark share is going to return this data back to the client of the produced RESTful service, and it is not going to persist anything to the local database. But once I click this, apart from sending back the output of the interaction with the third-party service to my client, it is also going to store this to the database. And as you can see, there are actually two types of persistence. The first one is the auto. Once you click this, you don't have to do anything else. It will go on and create some more relations to the database and some Java files in order to handle this output and store it to the database. Or you can use actually an existing crude resource that you have already created a model as an output model, and in this case you don't have to fill in anything else. You can just click, for example, let's say you are provided with a bookmark or with a tag as an output model once the interaction ends, and you can actually click this and you're all done. The main difference is that in case you click on the auto type of persistence, there will be actually not the interconnection of that new output is not going to be automated with the rest of the resources of your service, whilst if you have already created an CRUD resource that is going to be on such output data model received by a third-party service, you're going to get fully automated hypermedia for that part of your service as well. So I'm going on. I will go on, click the finish button, and as you can see, some more code is created. And pretty much these were the four demos of the MDE engine. As you can see in this final one, we have been able to create to satisfy all these six requirements: the CRUD part, the search part, the authentication part, and the interaction and interoperation with existing services part. And pretty much that's it. Um, Thank you for watching this webinar about the MD engine of SKs. And as final notes, I would like to know some helpful actions that everyone could take towards the next SK's technical meeting that will take place in Thessaloniki in around 2 weeks. First, you should download the latest version of the MD engine, and it's can be found here in the SK's update site. And you should try to use the next few days this MD engine and build some small services so as to actually learn how to use the system, and that goes especially for the pilots. Also to provide us some feedback, either bugs or some feature proposals through the open project ATS has already set up. This is going also to help us to uncover as many cross-platform issues as possible, and actually mentally prepare everyone for a productive technical meeting in 2 weeks in Thessaloniki. So thank you everyone for watching this webinar, and I hope you have found this helpful and enjoy using the MD engine of SKs. Goodbye.